Streaming app. Now you can get shows like Today's Issues straight from the source.
Put back on the next.
Just say unbanned.
Unbanned.
Just search AFA Streaming or visit streaming.afa.net to sign up. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the radio program Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network for this Thursday, January the 4th, 2024. And I'm Tim Wildman again, as the announcer just told you. And joining me in studio is Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Hey, good morning, Tim.
Chris Woodward.
Good morning.
They're in Tupelo, MS, and in Kansas City, KS, is our good friend Ray Pritchard. Good morning, Ray.
Hey, Tim. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Ray, I'm getting ready to jump into the book of Jeremiah. That's next up on my Bible reading, studying, listening. And what can I expect there, my friend?
Number one, it's one
Ed's
of the
laughing already.
A lot of lighthearted reading.
Okay,
Jeremiah is not a happy man.
Okay.
He is not a happy man. He's not a happy camper, okay? Okay. He just about had it, right? So,
all right.
Remember, Tim, he prophesied just as Judah was falling to the Babylonians, and Nebuchadnezzar was at the gates, and they were taken into captivity. So, I mean, he's letting them have it. He is.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
He's letting them have it.
So you're telling me Joel Osteen doesn't preach from that book very much? Is that
yet, when you look at the Bible Gateway and they mention the verse of the year, it often is one from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what Joel preaches.
Well, and that's true. We just need to get it in context.
I don't know Joel Osteen personally. I'm sure he's a wonderful guy and a great neighbor. And I'm just joking because it's all positive all day on his preaching messages, and so I'm expecting he doesn't spend a lot of time there in Jeremiah.
Well, Ray, let me ask you this. Now, that verse you cited, which is you can find out on wall hangings and people.
Which verse is that? The one they used at graduation and so forth? Go ahead.
Well, Proverbs or Jeremiah 29:11. Yeah.
Okay.
I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to hurt you, plans to give you a hope and a future. It's a beautiful verse. But it was written, remember, it was written to the Jews when they were in captivity in Babylon.
Right.
So, and they were going to be there for 70 years.
Yes.
In essence, it's God's way. Settle down, learn what you need to learn, bloom where you're planted. I will bless you now, and in due time, I will bring you back home to Jerusalem, but not on your agenda, on mine. God does, even in captivity, God has a future for his people. So it is good news, but it's not a free get out of jail card.
Ed's got a smirk on his face.
No, listen, I agree with everything I agree with everything that Ray is saying.
Yeah.
What I always think about that verse is, yes, everything Ray just said is true, but it's like in parentheses God was saying, but you guys who just got brought into captivity, you need to be looking at your kids or your grandkids coming back to the land of promise because you're stuck here.
Right. You're going to die here. You're going to be buried in Babylon.
Yeah.
But your kids and grandkids, they're going to get to see Jerusalem again.
Somehow when that verse is used during graduation, I don't get that context.
They leave out some of the details, right?
Yeah. But anyway, Tim, enjoy Jeremiah.
Yeah, enjoy Jeremiah. It's
and Lamentations.
You're gonna love it.
I'll let you know.
And Lamentations too.
And Lamentations?
Yeah, coming right up.
Sometimes, people, they'll I actually had somebody message us one time and say, you people need to stop talking about the Bible, quit believing in fairy tales. And one of these days I'm going to be like,
sorry,
have you read
Christian
Leviticus?
Radio Network.
Yeah. No, what about Lamentations gives you the warm and fuzzies? It's not a fairy tale.
Yeah. You Christians need to quit talking about Jesus.
Ain't gonna happen.
No, not today.
No, to quote George H.W. Bush, not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it. All right. Well, listen, hope that you are reading the Bible and praying and have a personal devotion each and every day as we kick off this 2024. All right, so let's see. Christopher,
Yes.
bring forth unto us the news.
Well, one of the things the Bible instructs us to do is pray for others and pray for
Yes.
those in positions of authority over us. And we need to do
Yes.
that right now for the people of the great state of Iowa because, unfortunately, there has been a reported school shooting in Perry, Iowa, which is northwest of Des Moines. There has been a school shooting there. I'm looking at various networks as I speak. Police say they got to the school within 7 minutes. They have identified the shooter. The sheriff is holding a press conference right now and is quoted as saying there have been multiple gunshot victims. I saw one quote from ABC a moment ago that said one person dead. Details are scarce, and in moments like this, some of the information that comes out is proven inaccurate. But bottom line, there has been a school shooting in Iowa, and authorities are investigating right now, and certainly a lot of families are hurting, and they do need our prayer as we talk about this.
Is it over or is it an active shooter? Do you know?
It was described as an active shooter just before the shooting, just before the show began. And right now the headlines are investigation underway.
Okay. Just outside of Des Moines, you say?
Yes, it's northwest of Des Moines. It is... if
Boy,
you're-
it's more than 1,700 students at the high school, Perry High School.
That's a big high school.
That's a big high school, and this is the first day back from winter break, Christmas break, and New Year's, and so, boy, you just, I'm sure nobody ever expects these kind of things when they happen, but I'm sure it was the last thing on the mind of parents sending their kids off back to school for the second semester. This is going to be tough.
Well, yeah, that's tragic, sad, disturbing, all those words. And you know, when you live in a country as big and as free and as open as ours, sadly, you're going to have tragedies like this.
Right.
Well, you have them around the world, even in communist, totalitarian countries. You have things like this happen. So,
By the way, Steve Jordahl just texted. He said, "quote the police are saying the community is no longer in danger."
Right. That just popped up on
Okay.
CNN Skyron.
all right. Next story.
Well, this could very well have been the lead story, and we do have an AP story on this on our website, afn.net. Many Republicans from the House of Representatives specifically went down to the southern border yesterday to meet with various Border Patrol officials there and to witness for themselves the large number of people coming to the border or coming across the border illegally. I've got several sound bites here from various representatives that went down to the southern border. Let's begin with Jim Jordan, who made these comments, clip 1.
The solution is to go back to the policies that worked. The solution is our legislation. Or the solution is simply, I think, one sentence. No money can be used to process or release into the country any new migrants. To just say suspend it now, which the president can do.
Now, I also have some sound from Representative Aaron Houchin, if I said that correctly, of Indiana. Let's include this one, clip 14.
From ranchers to law enforcement, they're asking us to shut down the government until the border is addressed by the Biden administration. This administration has let in 8 million people. That's 1 million people more than the entire state of Indiana that I represent. It's catastrophic, unsustainable.
Now, I do have some audio from someone else that kind of gives the yeah, but to these comments, but we can stop there if you want and get your guys' reaction.
Do you have a quote from maybe Bill Murray from Groundhog Day?
I do not.
Because that's what we're living in right now. We do these stories because we have to, and it is a big national news story, the massive illegal immigration into our country by millions of people allowed by President Biden. And listen, the governor of Texas, seems to me, Abbott's done everything he can do. He's trying to do everything he can do to slow this down. It's affecting his state. First, because the people, well, Arizona too, California maybe to a lesser extent, but basically Texas and Arizona, the two places where these folks are coming in by the hundreds of thousands and even millions since Biden became president. But listen, I don't know what anybody can do when the president of the United States allows this, and he's the fox in charge of the chicken coop, Ed.
Yeah, and when President Biden was asked about this, I think this was yesterday, he said, well, we got to do something. They ought to give me the money I need to protect the border.
Yeah.
And I just think you don't want to protect the border. I think what President Biden and members of the Biden administration want with money is the money to help get these people in and pay for their upkeep. I think that's what he's talking about. But what everyone else is talking about is not letting them in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, if they'll say comprehensive immigration reform. Isn't that how they phrase it? The left,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. By that I mean, how can we let as many people? How can we make all these people legal?
Yes.
That we're allowing into our. That's what they mean by comprehensive immigration reform.
But if you, Ray, we'll get your take on this. If you say you're against comprehensive immigration reform, it sounds like you don't want to do anything.
Look, when we say that, what we mean is start at the border, with the border, strengthen the border, make it what it was when President Trump left office. Let's just go back to there as a baseline, okay? He left it in just 4 years. And that shows you what a man who's determined can do. The situation wasn't perfect on the southern border, but it was a lot better in 2021 when he left than it was the day he took office. And look what Joe Biden has done. Sure, I'm all for comprehensive immigration reform, but step one is strengthen the border, close down this flood tide. I mean, it's not a trickle, guys. It's a flood tide of illegal immigrants entering our country.
Well, you want to know the Ed Vitagliano plan for solving this?
Yes.
95%, solving 95% of this.
Okay.
You strengthen, now obviously it can't be done with Joe Biden as president. You strengthen our southern border, and then you pay Mexico to shut down their border on the south.
Yeah.
Because all these folks are coming right up through Mexico. Mexico doesn't care because they're letting some of their people go in this flood. But you shut down our border, you control it. You can still allow some legal immigration.
Sure.
And then you pay Mexico to keep theirs shut on the south. And that way you've got two gateways to stop this.
Going to have a different president, I'm afraid. You're going to have a different a Republican president. Next story, Steve. Let's see, Chris, go ahead.
I can do this if you want.
Can you do that?
Yeah, because I'll try. I do have some audio from Dana Lash. Yesterday on her radio show, she said she was tired of hearing Republicans going to the border and doing these kinds of things. She wants Republicans to actually do something about the border through powers of the purse and stuff like that. Clip 2.
I am so disgusted by the Republican Party right now, by the RNC and the Republican Party at large. I'm just disgusted. We have Republicans that are too afraid to vote what they know to be right, and so they kind of sit on their hands. Oh, they'll go down to the border and they'll take photos, but that's about it. Then they come back and they do more of the same. Oh, they act like they're going to stand for principles. Oh, guys, we got rid of Kevin McCarthy, and here we have Mike Johnson, who has the exact same voting record as Kevin McCarthy. Look at us. We're so good. Principles, hashtag. It's a joke.
So not everybody that votes Republican is happy with.
I don't know what she expects the Republicans to do.
No, they don't. They can't. Well, they've only got 4 or 5 vote margin in the House. Right?
They've already had one or two. Didn't they have someone resign? A Republican resign from office?
Yeah. Well, they got rid of Santos.
And then Kevin McCarthy. Yeah.
Some guy just resigned here to start the.
So it's razor thin. Right.
Yeah, right.
It's
shrinking.
Yeah.
And Democrats are really interested in getting that Santos seat, which would make Speaker Johnson's job that much more difficult. Bill Johnson was the guy that resigned.
I think I understand her frustration, and like I said, I refer to this as the Groundhog Day story.
Yeah.
However, I think Republicans maybe are going and doing press conferences from the border to remind the American people what's going on so as to affect the November elections. That would be the purpose and point of them doing press conferences like the one we just heard from. But I understand what Dana Lash is saying. It's, but at the same time, like to Ed's point, the Republicans just don't have the numbers to I mean, can you imagine, what do they have? What are the numbers in the House, Ed? Can you look that up? What's the margin now?
You look that up, Chris.
Yeah.
I did find a Republican Representative Bill Johnson of Ohio will resign from Congress on January 21 to become the new head of Youngstown State University. That will further shrink the tight House GOP majority. Now, that may be a position that gets replaced by another Republican.
Right.
I got you. The number right now for Republicans is approximately 221. The number for a majority is 218.
Yeah. Of course, there was supposed to be a red wave.
Yes.
That was only in Florida, in the state of Florida, apparently.
Yeah, the red wave didn't materialize the way Republicans expected it to, hoped that it would.
And, a lot of Republican candidates have voiced their frustrations with Ronna McDaniel over that. I know Vivek Ramaswamy in the last two debates really went after her. DeSantis also said he was tired of losing. He wants to start winning. So many people are upset with the party's handling of polls and their lack of their inability to actually resonate with some voters to get that red wave that we all thought we were going to get.
Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead. Next story.
Well, a couple of months ago.
And then tomorrow, listen, not tomorrow, but maybe next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, if you could have illegal immigration stories for us, Chris. We would like to revisit this every day.
Noted.
For the foreseeable future.
Let me write this down.
With audio clips. We can't show
take a note.
visuals because we don't have video on radio.
Video would be great for radio.
But I know Ed and Ray and Fred and Wesley, we just dig these stories and can't get enough of them. So we'll have more.
I'm getting my
Next
PhD
story.
in doom and gloom. A couple of months ago on this program, I brought in the news that California was going to be repealing a law that barred doctors and other medical professionals from sharing what California's government deems misinformation with patients about COVID-19. And I've got some audio this morning. Now, the reason this is in the news today, even though the story started a couple of months ago, is because California said it was going to repeal the law starting January 1st. Now that we're in the beginning of the year, California has officially repealed this law that, again, bars doctors from sharing misinformation with patients about COVID-19. I have one of the doctors that went to court over this situation. His name is Dr. Jeff Barkey, and he talked about California's repeal earlier today on Fox and Friends, clip 4.
It's a win not only for physicians, but most importantly for patients, because this bill would have required physicians to entertain the state's narrative before rendering a medical opinion. So we would always have to know what the state believed was the case before we could give a first, second, or even third opinion to a patient. So this is a big win.
Okay, so that's doctors can say what they believe to be the truth.
Correct.
And they don't have that's crazy that law was even on the books.
Well, it is California that we're talking about, though.
Now, this law that you're talking about has been repealed?
Yes, it has.
By the same legislature that passed it?
Or was it the result of a court case?
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. When an organization headed by a guy named Jacob Hubert, Liberty Justice Center is the name of the legal firm, but they went to court over this, representing people like Dr. Jeff Barkey, saying it was a matter of free speech. Doctors should be able to share with patients what doctors think is best on any kind of medical situation, COVID-19 or otherwise. And they have stressed that while many of us see and hear things about California and we roll our eyes, we don't realize that oftentimes what happens in California ends up spreading to other parts of the country. So it is a good thing that California has decided, you know what, this is not right. We can't go this far because this may prevent others.
What was it? What's the bottom line of what happened?
California has repealed its law that bars doctors from sharing what the government of California deems misinformation with patients about COVID-19. So if a doctor were to say, hey, you need to take some ivermectin for that COVID, he or she could do that now, whereas a few months ago it didn't look like California was going to allow that. And the penalty for a doctor was like you were going to lose your license, maybe be fined, stuff like that. It was
listen, I
really
think the
difficult
COVID
situation.
response should be between the doctor and the woman, or the doctor and the patient. The government has no business in people's bodies, with people messing with people's bodies. I think that's
My body, my
Look.
choice, right?
Yeah. So, listen, I don't mean to sound like a smart aleck, although I can from time to time. But
Actually, what you said on this issue happens to be entirely correct. It's between the doctor.
Yeah.
The doctor ought to be
Patient.
able to prescribe. He should have been able to talk about ivermectin and prescribe it during the pandemic if he wanted to, or hydroxychloroquine, or whatever drugs he deemed in the patient's best interest. But not only could he not prescribe it, he didn't even dare mention it to his patient at the risk of losing his medical license. That's
it was
lunacy.
the government muzzling doctors from their professional medical opinions. Listen, doctors vary on professional medical opinions on a lot of things. I don't know why they just pick COVID out, to say no, you got to toe the government line, or else we're going to fine you or revoke your medical license, or whatever they could do there in California.
That's why people are often encouraged to get a second opinion. And we're talking about from medical professionals.
Right.
You know, the doctor said this was the problem.
Right.
Well, I want to get a second opinion.
Right.
You know, when you think about it, you think, well, why would the opinion change? Isn't this science? That's what we're always told. Just follow the science. Well, then what you're saying is getting a second opinion. Maybe the views on the quote-unquote science aren't always as solid and clear-cut as we want them to be. So to muzzle doctors is just an absolutely terrible idea, and I am shocked it came out of California.
I know. Let the record show that on Thursday, January 4th, something sensible happened in California.
That's right. It's a good start to the year.
I'm going to write this date down in American history.
Yeah. Now, I will share this real quick because I know we're going into a break. Probably don't have time for the clip. But from the state government to the federal level, the Biden administration has been trying to force ER doctors to perform abortions, even in states where abortion is not legal. And this has been the subject for several court cases, one of which just ended in a positive development. This week, the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals told the Biden administration it cannot force abortion on ER doctors. They have the right of conscience and stuff like that if they don't want to perform abortions on a woman. Alliance Defending Freedom is heavily involved in this case. They represented pro-life OBGYNs and the Christian Medical and Dental Associations in that Fifth Circuit case. ADF is also in court now representing states like Idaho, where the Biden administration is trying to force them to force abortion on ER doctors.
Yeah, well, that's terrible. What Biden's position on abortion is terrible. Absolutely. And the Democrat Party's is, quite frankly.
Safe,
All right,
legal,
we're
and
gonna take a
rare to
break
whatever
right
you want it.
But I did notice that you use the highly professional expression, Chris, there, quote, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Quote,
hey.
in the middle of your story. And tell me whatever news department can
boast
and use that
can boast that kind of. Chris, you're taking a beating today. I don't know what the deal is, but
hey, you know what? Job security, whatever.
That's right.
I'll pick up your dry cleaning later today if you want your golf shirts pressed.
Whatever.
I don't know why I'm picking on Chris today, but
hey, better him than me. That's my
agree.
That's my position.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a short time out right here, and we shall return with more of today's issues on the American Family Radio Network after this short break. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
I picked up a mail order catalog the other day and placed an order. It was a simple process, and it never entered into my mind that I would not get what I had ordered. For all of the reputable mail-order houses today have guarantees that the merchandise will be as described, or it can be returned for full credit. Time was when that wasn't true. Back before 1872, if you placed an order from a catalog, your chances of getting what you ordered, merchandise as described in the catalog, were slim. For up until then, deception and outrageous fraud were more the rule than strict ethical dealing. But in 1872, a man who later was to become famous because of the mail-order business published his first catalog. It was a one-pager with 163 items listed. That man and his catalog were to change the course of the mail-order business. By 1875, he had increased his catalog to 72 pages, and the 1875 catalog carried in it an ironclad commitment to his customers. That policy, which still stands today, read like this: "We guarantee all of our goods. If any of them are not satisfactory after due inspection, we will take them back, pay all expenses, and refund the money paid for them." Later, that man included "not satisfactory" to include even a whim. The pledge, now commonplace, was unheard of in those days. And it wasn't long till his competition joined in line. They were dismayed by the move and felt certain disaster would result from it, but they had no choice. One man did what he believed right and best, and the others had to join in or get out. Why is it, not only in business but in other areas as well, that we are afraid to do that which we know is right and best? Why is it that we accept politics and other institutions as crooked and deceitful? Why do we think we have to do that which is wrong simply because everyone else does it, or because it's always been done? A man who goes against tradition and finds what is right can expect opposition. It's bound to come. But the odds are on his side that in the long haul, his method of honesty will prove successful. I can recall an incident when the Galilean went into the temple and upset the tables of the money changers. What had begun as a good service had become one filled with graft and corruption. But he dared to be different. He would not fall into line with dishonesty. And before long, that system he attacked disappeared. A person doesn't have to be dishonest simply because it's the accepted way. Every person can do what he knows to be right. It may not be easy, and he may not be accepted by his peers, but he will be right. And being right is worth far more than being accepted. Today, the mail-order business is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year concern, and it continues to grow at about 8% each year. The man who changed the mail-order business into one of respectability and honesty was a man by the name of Aaron Montgomery Ward. His company still does business today.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
The Lord looks down from heaven on all mankind to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. Psalm 14, verse 2.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm Tim Wildmon. You're listening to American Family Radio. We're here every day with this program, Today's Issues on AFR. We usually have 4 of us, so 25% wisdom coming from each one. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. 100%.
Are you saying we're pooling our ignorance?
Yes.
That was a good one, Ed. Ed Vitagliano, Christopher Woodward in Tupelo, MS, and in Kansas City, KS, is our good friend Ray Pritchard. So you live on the Kansas side of Kansas City, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Kansas.
Now, Kansas City split, obviously Missouri and Kansas, but about 3/4 of the population lives in Missouri, right?
That's right. It's not an even split. About 75% are the ball teams. The baseball and the football. The Chiefs. They're over in Missouri, but there's about 25% of us here on the Kansas side.
I drove by there about 2 years ago. I guess it was. I was on the interstate. It was late at night. Alice and I were coming back from Omaha, Nebraska, and we drove through Kansas City. And we stopped there, spend the night on the Missouri side somewhere. It was about midnight.
Yeah.
But I saw the Chiefs Stadium, and then the Royals, the baseball.
Right, they're right there side by side.
Yeah. That was a beautiful stadium at night to look at. Yeah. I'm talking about the Royals baseball.
Yeah. Oh, the Kauffman Stadium. I mean, they put a lot of money into that. It's beautiful.
I haven't been to Kansas City, Missouri since the last time I saw Taylor Swift in concert.
Really, Ed? You're a Swiftie, are you?
Did you wear a Travis Kelce jersey when you?
You fit looking at you fit the demographic, Ed.
Yeah, you do. You're right there, Ed.
Taylor Swift. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no.
Listen, coming up this weekend, we got a brand new show here on the American Family Radio Network, and so we're going to talk about it for just a moment with the host. Dr. Jerry Drace. Jerry joins us right now, and The Hope for the Home is the name of the program. Jerry, good morning to you, brother.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing well. Where are you? You're camping in Montana or something, aren't you?
We are in Montana at our daughter and son-in-law and grandchildren's home, sitting on the edge of a mountain, looking over a mountain range. It's just breathtaking. This morning, the herd of elk, about 70 elk, walked right across the road, right down from the house where our kids live. So we're roughing it out here in Montana.
A herd of elk walked by while you're having your coffee in the morning?
Of them. Wow. Yeah, they just came up.
Wow.
In fact, I think they wanted breakfast. They just kept going.
Now, Jerry, I'm not judging you or disrespecting you on this, but you don't sound like you're from Montana.
Yes, you are. Yeah, elk and moose, and we had 3 grizzly bears that slept on the front porch last night. So I mean, it's pretty cool out here.
Yeah.
Whoa! Well, we got to backpedal a little bit.
Yeah.
Were you kidding?
You believe that,
Jerry?
No, I wasn't kidding about the elk. No, the elk they were. Our daughter carries our grandchildren down to the bus stop each morning, and about 70 elk right across the road in front of her, about a quarter of a mile from their house. They're surrounded by a national forest. And so they have a beautiful home on a mountain and totally thousands and thousands of acres of the national forest around them. And so the elk come through, and every once in a while a moose will walk through. So
listen, Dr. Drace, I'm digging that Montana accent that you've got going there.
Don't you like that? That sounds like
I'm going to spill the beans right now. Jerry's from the Jackson, Tennessee area.
Yeah,
Jerry's a good old Southern boy like myself, but his accent is very distinct. Jerry, listen, Becky, you and your wife Becky are going to start a brand new show for us. Well, it's not a brand new show in the sense that people have heard your voice and y'all's teaching on American Family Radio, but it's going to be a half-hour show called Hope for the Home, starting this Sunday at 5:30 Central Time on American Family Radio. What tell us about that?
It started, Tim. The Hope for the Home started after a conference I had several years ago with Dr. James Dobson. I was out there at Focus when he was still the president of Focus on the Family. And he and I and H.B. London were in Dr. Dobson's office talking about evangelism in the state of the world. He said, Jerry, how many evangelists do you know that are addressing family issues? And at that time, I only knew of 2. And so, long story short, when I came back from Focus on the Family, I did a survey with pastors across this nation. And I asked them one question. I said, what's your greatest challenge as a pastor? And when all the answers came back, it surprised me. The number one answer was, how do we minister to the families in our church? I thought it was going to be something else. So what I did, I had just finished my doctorate work out at Golden Gate Seminary, and part of it was on spiritual and family formation. And Becky and I began to pull together material that dealt with families. And out of that came what was called the Hope for the Home Conference. And Tim, we've done we've done about 300 or more of those nationwide, and a good number of them in Great Britain in the last 20, 25 years. So out of that is what came the Hope for the Home program that we're doing with AFR on Sunday afternoons. We're going to be dealing with questions that people have asked in our Hope for the Home conferences. When we do a conference for a weekend, we address 10 different sessions. So it's very intense. We spend Friday night about 2 hours with married couples, and then I spend an hour and a half on Saturday morning with senior adults, and Becky speaks to the mothers of children and teenagers, and then I have an hour and a half with those who are currently divorced, and then we deal with teenage issues and senior adult issues, and then on Sunday, of course, I preach on the family. So we have gathered lots of material from all across this nation. I know when somebody's on the radio or TV, people often ask, what qualifications do you have to address these? Well, number one, there's no such thing as an expert on the family. We all deal with issues. But like I said, I did my doctorate work, and Becky has her master's in Christian counseling, Christian social work from Union University. So we try to bring research to the program as well as just being able to deal with issues that families face.
All right, Dr. Jerry Drace joining us. Jerry's from Jackson, Tennessee area, but he's visiting family in Montana, and he and his wife Becky got a new show for us coming up on American Family Radio Sunday at 5:30 Central Time called Hope for the Home. Hope for the Home. They spent decades in Christian ministry, primarily to the families, and family issues in the home. What's the number one issue that you guys? Is there a number one issue that you guys find that families are facing that causes issues or problems?
One word is communication. I think that's the breakdown of communication is probably the number one issue.
Really?
Parents and children will sit in the same room on their telephones or iPads and never talk to each other. And they'll text each other while they're in the same room. And we have observed this at the airports where we travel and when places go out to eat, people just are not talking and communicating. So,
right.
And that one word is communication.
Yeah. Well, listen, Jerry, we look forward to Sunday, 5:30 Central Time on American Family Radio, Hope for the Home. And what's your website if people want to check out your ministry?
Website is hopeforthehome.org. Simply Hope for the, and our email, if you have questions for us, is hopeforthehome@juno.com. hopeforthehome@juno.com.
People still use
I'll try to get
Juno?
my southern accent back by the time I get back to Tennessee. How's that?
Yeah. I didn't know Juno was still alive as a company.
That's
Wow.
what my son said.
Okay.
He said, Dad, I said, well, I've been using Juno for 25 years or whatever, so we stayed with it.
All
At least it's not AOL. You know.
I know. You've got mail.
Right. That's right.
All right. AOL,
Chris.
they still around? I get occasionally I'll see somebody with an AOL address.
Sure.
All right. Thank you,
Chris,
Jerry. Talk to you later, my friend.
Tell Chris that we do stuff like that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
God bless,
All right,
bless
I
your
will,
heart
Jerry.
in a good way, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Jerry Drace.
God bless, guys.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
And by the way, Tim, that show is at 5:30 p.m. So, folks, it's
What
a
did I
nighttime
say?
show. Well, you
I just
didn't say
say.
a.m. or p.m. Most people probably assumed it was a nighttime show, but
Well, I like to keep our listeners guessing, you know.
that's right.
On their toes.
Keep them on their toes.
Hey, Ray, when Jerry was talking about being up in Montana and seeing all that wildlife and God's magnificent nature, I was thinking about you because you got family up in Montana too, right?
Our son pastors in Missoula, Church at the Gates, and every time we're up there, we see exactly what Jerry was talking about. You see the elk, you see the deer. They got the bears coming down into the valley there, you know.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, Montana is they call it the big sky country for a reason.
Right.
I mean, you can see forever, and it's like nowhere else in America. But what Jerry was talking about, yeah, you can see all over the state.
I thought he was telling the truth about grizzly bears, about grizzly bear.
He had you going there, didn't he?
Had me
He
going.
did.
I
He
was
did.
thinking, I'm out of here.
Yeah, what would you do if you wake up and find three grizzly bears or whatever he said sleeping on your porch?
Yes.
I'm not opening that door.
No.
Listen, I'm all about eating, not about getting at.
I'm definitely
right.
not saying, hey, y'all, watch this. That never ends well.
That's right.
My preference for grizzly bears is the Discovery Channel.
Yes,
That's right.
That's as close as I want to get.
To a grizzly bear.
That's
I wouldn't mind seeing one in the wild sometime, but I don't want to get close as my front.
Well, you know what? Like
porch.
in baseball, the tie goes to the runner. Okay,
Yeah.
The tie goes to the grizzly bear. If it's
Absolutely.
a close call, the tie goes to the grizzly.
Absolutely.
You know, supposedly the How to Survive in the Wilderness books that cover things like what if you're approached by a bear, they always tell you not to run, but to yell at the bear and establish your dominance. Like, nobody does that. Nobody is that calm.
Let me tell you how that
you're
worked
right,
out,
Chris.
okay? Because
That's right.
I did have a confrontation with nature about 25 years ago. All right, I was visiting in Dallas, the whole family, my dad's side of the family, and we were at a park, at a lake, and a swan came out of the water, and my sister, we were sitting at a picnic table. My sister said, just go up to the swan and spread your arms out, make yourself as big as possible. It will intimidate the swan, and it'll run away. She lied through her teeth. That thing kept
Made that up.
She made it up. She was laughing her head off. I completely yielded to the swan. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm not doing that to a grizzly bear.
No,
That's
no.
for sure.
Yeah. My personal encounter with the wild was snipe hunting when I was in Cub Scouts.
You got to be
Hey,
careful.
don't give anything away about snipe hunting. That's probably
I'm not.
still a
It's the
favorite
northern
pastime.
snipe
The
you
first
gotta
rule
worry
of snipe
about.
hunting is there is no snipe hunting.
What'd you say, Ray, about snipe hunting?
Well, the northern snipe, they're kind of the brown with the big bushy tail, and you just got to be really careful. It's hard to catch them.
Yeah.
You can
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
you can see them moving, but
Yeah.
by the time you get there, they're gone.
That's right.
They're out there with Santa Claus somewhere.
I did an exhaustive web
Bigfoot.
search just now,
Yeah.
and the National Park Service says if you're attacked by a brown or grizzly bear, leave your pack on and play dead.
What,
This
you're
is
gonna
all
lie
advice
down
that
with your
people aren't going to use. It's counterintuitive.
Oh, when I
don't-
launch
I
a
don't know.
podcast called
But you
Stuff
know-
Like That, we're going to
But
go over this.
if you think about it, if you're going to go out where grizzlies are in the wild and you're not going to be armed, first of all, that's a definition of dumb.
Yeah.
But
right.
secondly, lay down. But I guess if you think about it, if you try to run, you're not going to outrun them. But you still think you can, right?
The difference.
You think that
the difference that from what I've read, and again, I'm not testing this out in the wild. The difference
Right.
I've read that the difference is brown bears / grizzly bears do get bored if they think you're dead. Black
Okay.
bear though will eat you. They say to strike back at a black bear.
Yeah.
Try hit him in the nose or whatever.
Yeah. If it's black, fight back. If it's brown, lie down. If it's white, good night. Right.
Because nothing will help you with a pulse.
Nothing's going to help you at that point.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the lesson here is you need to be able, in about 2 seconds, to discern whether or not you're facing a grizzly, which lay down,
right,
or a black bear, which is going to eat you.
Yes.
And so you need to be prepared in that 2 to 3 second time frame to decide your fate. Is that what we're saying, Ed?
I would also say if you're going out into the wild in Montana,
right,
unarmed, just make sure whoever your buddies are slower than you are.
That's right. You only have to outrun them. That's all.
Right. I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun them.
Outrun them.
All right, you're listening to Animal Kingdom.
That's right.
Tim, Ed, Ray, and Chris. Speaking of Animal Kingdom, American politics. Back to those stories.
Yes. One of the things that, this is debate season amongst many candidates for office, but I've got a story of another debate here that may take place later this month. The organization known as Moms for Liberty is wanting to debate the head of the American Federation of Teachers over the state of American schools. To be more specific here, Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice wants AFT Union President Randy Weingarten to just name a network and meet her in New York City for a televised debate on January 18th. Tiffany Justice says she wants to discuss the various things that are causing what she calls the failure of America's school system, of which Randy Garden might be able to control. Clip 8.
Only a third of kids in America's public schools reading on grade level in fourth grade. There are discipline issues across the country. Teachers are leaving classrooms for a multitude of reasons. And so I just think it's time for Randy and for parents to come together and have a conversation. If Randy's serious about wanting parents to be truly involved in their children's education and wanting children to be all that they can be, then she needs to be rolling out the red carpet for parents. And so we'll see if she's willing to have a conversation with me. The only way that we're going to move forward in this country is together for our kids.
Now, when I talked about this with Tiffany Justice yesterday for a story today on AFN.net, Tiffany told me that she would be completely fine doing this on CNN, MSNBC, wherever Randy Garden wants to have a televised debate. She's happy to sit down with her and talk about these things. I don't know that we'll actually have it, but it would be something to watch.
I don't think we would have it. And I'm just going to say the name Tiffany Justice. That is a cool name. If you're going in a boxing ring or, on a debate stage, you're going to be hit by the justice train. That's a good name.
Yeah.
I like it.
Enact justice. It's better than Chris Woodward because people are like, you're Squidward? What's your,
Squidward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get it all, man. Woodard, Squidward.
All right,
little SpongeBob
so we'll see if I doubt that happens. Usually, that she's talking about debating the leader of the largest teachers union in America.
Correct.
On national television about the issues facing students. It's a serious invitation, but the teachers unions, the public school teachers.
She's not going to show up.
No, and they are very powerful, especially with the Democrat Party.
Right. And if she did accidentally show up on the debate stage, I'm guessing she would just play dead.
She's got about 2 seconds to decide.
That's right.
That's right.
On a more serious note here, I probably should have done this one before airing the Tiffany Justice bite there. One of the topics we continue to cover on today's issues has been the horrible situation that Jewish students find themselves in on many college campuses and university campuses today in America. I've got some audio here from an MIT grad student by the name of Talia Khan, and she says MIT is okay with groups like Black Lives Matter and other radical organizations, but things are very difficult today for Jewish students and Jewish groups on campuses, not just those on MIT's campus. Clip 7.
I've had my Israeli flags taken down by MIT administration. Well, yesterday, I just saw a Black Lives Matter flag flying about 10 feet away from President Kornbluth's door on campus. So, they're selectively enforcing free speech, selectively enforcing punishments against the anti-Israel students who are bringing violent outside protesters to campus, protesters who have been arrested in protests in Boston and Cambridge. They're bringing these people to our campus because we have an open campus policy. And when you have these violent people, chanting for intifada, which President Kornbluth, as you saw, failed to acknowledge our calls for the genocide of Jews. When you have these people on campus, there's no way Jewish and Israeli students and even other students can feel safe.
Yeah. It's something to watch and continue to watch. I'm talking about the anti-Semitism that's open and out in the public right now. Even in the United States, Jewish people are worried and scared right now to go out and conduct normal everyday life in a lot of places in this country. So, and that's because of what's happening, obviously. Well, anti-Semitism has been around forever, but I mean, it's heightened now because of what's happening with the Israeli army going after Hamas in Gaza, and a lot of people are dying there. And so anyway, well, next story, this Jeffrey Epstein story is a big national news story.
It is.
I was looking at Fox right now. It's like the number 2 story. And for those who don't know, he was a New York socialite, billionaire, who playboy, who hung out with a lot of rich and powerful people, and he was convicted of sex trafficking, right?
Yes.
With minors, right?
Several years ago.
Yes, but he was put in jail in New York, and he mysteriously committed suicide. I say mysteriously because there's a lot of people think that there was some foul play involved because the cameras were off in the jail cell, and that he had there was a long list of people who, rich and powerful people, and I'm getting conspiratorial, I understand that, but a lot of people,
there's a lot of people who prefer Jeffrey Epstein be dead.
Right? Yeah, instead of having their name tied to him. Well, now there's been a court release of a lot of names, some of which we knew would be on there. Now, when I name these names, it doesn't mean these people have done anything wrong.
Correct.
Or illegal. It only means that they were associated with Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Correct.
So Bill Clinton's name's on here. And he took a lot of flights evidently they were tight back in the 90s, maybe 2000s. Yes. And then Donald Trump's name's on here. Back in the 2000s, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were very good friends. And Trump went on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 4 times, that Travelogue show. Now they didn't go to that Lolita Island or whatever it's called down there. But anyway, Trump said of Jeffrey Epstein in 2002, I've known Jeff for 15 years. He's a terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life. End of quote. That's what Donald Trump said about his friend Jeffrey Epstein in 2002. Who else is Bill Gates? Probably his name's on there. Alan Dershowitz name's on there.
Yeah, you're going to see different names mentioned by different news outlets. Prince Andrew has been one that's appeared on most, if not all, news reports.
Michael Jackson, Kate Blanchett, Leonardo DiCaprio,
Bill
bunch
Richardson.
of names. What's that?
Former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, who at one time ran for president.
But you know, you don't. People can be friends with people and still not know what they're doing,
right?
Illegally. I mean,
that was true about like Harvey Weinstein. Remember, one of the founders of Miramax, Harvey and Bob Weinstein.
But when Trump has a quote saying Jeff likes him on the younger side, that's weird. Am I the only one who thinks this?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, and that was 2002, right? When
they were friends. Trump was a New York liberal for 40 years, okay? A playboy. I mean, he had his conversion to politics when he wanted to run for president as a Republican. That's when he became a Republican. And everybody knows his past history and knew it when they voted for him. So but this association with Jeffrey Epstein was back to their New York days. And as I say, a lot of people had you named a whole list of celebrities who were friends of Jeffrey Epstein's. But I think Bill Clinton and Donald Trump and a lot of these others hope this story goes away pretty quick. Go ahead. What are you going to say, Ray?
Well, there's no evidence that he ever went to that Lolita Island or whatever it's called. He flew in his plane a few times, right? I mean, there's
Who's that?
Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think the Travelogue show Trump flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane 4 times.
There's
a couple times with his family.
But there's no proof that he was at that island.
No. Yeah. No, you're right. And no proof that any of the others went to that island.
Or did anything. Right. I think with Prince Andrew, there's some question. He's been named by one of the people. And there's a lot. There are lawsuits. That's how all this.
And there's more stuff coming out.
Yeah.
This wasn't the total release of all those documents. More to come.
All right, we'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues on American Family Radio. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
There's a lot happening around us. That's why Christians need to stand strong on family values and morality. Hi, I'm Ray Rooney, editor of The Stand, a blog from the American Family Association. The Stand has timely, carefully written articles on relevant cultural issues that you can quickly forward to others. Visit afa.net/The Stand.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. There's been a shooting at a high school in Iowa, but it's unclear exactly how many were injured or if anyone has died. It happened at Perry High School. This is Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infante.
This morning at approximately 7:37 a.m., we had a Sears radio activation at the high school, which indicated an active shooter situation. An officer first arrived within 7 minutes of that activation and located multiple gunshot victims. We're still unclear of exactly how many are injured or what the extent of those are, but we're working on that right now. There is no further danger to the public.
Some Republicans in both the House and Senate are refusing to vote for any foreign aid package that doesn't include policy changes at the southern border. Indiana Congresswoman Erin Houchin advocates for the GOP immigration reform bill H.R. 2.
They have a solution in H.R. 2 that's sitting in the Senate waiting on passage that would solve this problem, yet they're asking for more money to do more of the same, and Republicans won't do that.
Diversity hire and former Harvard president Claudine Gay has resigned amid a plagiarism scandal and refusal to condemn Jewish genocide. But according to the mainstream media, racism is to blame.
In October, Harvard President Claudine Gay was found to have plagiarized the academic work of others. Then in December, she sat before a congressional committee and could not say if calls for a second Holocaust violated university policy. On Tuesday, she bowed to pressure from Harvard donors and trustees and resigned. But true to form, mainstream media talking heads are blaming racist conservatives.
The thing that really disturbs me is the unrelenting campaign from the right to slander, discredit, and ultimately, essentially unseat Gay and other presidents.
CNN anchor Matt Egan even tried this astounding feat of mental gymnastics.
Claudine Gay has not been accused of stealing anyone's ideas in any of her writings. She's been accused of more like copying other people's writings.
Bill D'Agostino of Media Research Center says it's a classic example of the so-called soft bigotry of low expectations. Perhaps black university presidents have to plagiarize to be successful.
There's a discomfort with even admitting that the plagiarism thing is true.
But he says for most of the mainstream media, it's nothing more than woke.
For a lot of these people, it's probably something as simple as, well, you can't accuse a person who's marginalized.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
Meanwhile, MIT President Sally Kornbluth has stayed in her position. Talia Khan is a graduate student at MIT.
I've had my Israeli flags taken down by MIT administration. Well, yesterday, I just saw a Black Lives Matter flag flying about 10 feet away from President Kornbluth's door on campus. So, they're selectively enforcing free speech, selectively enforcing punishments against the anti-Israel students who are bringing violent outside protesters to campus, protesters who have been arrested in protests in Boston and Cambridge. They're bringing these people to our campus because we have an open campus policy. And when you have these violent people, chanting for intifada, which President Kornbluth, as you saw, failed to acknowledge our calls for the genocide of Jews. When you have these people on campus, there's no way Jewish and Israeli students and even other students can feel safe.
Former President Donald Trump is asking the Supreme Court to overturn a decision in Colorado that kicked him off the ballot in that state. David Spunt reports.
We're waiting to see what the court does, what the court says. 3 of the justices that Donald Trump appointed are pondering this morning, do we even get involved? Now, he hopes they do. He hopes that they overturn this controversial ruling from the Colorado State Supreme Court. The justices, though, have quite a decision to make. Will they directly get involved in this case? It is a political hot potato, and the Supreme Court traditionally likes to stay away from politics, though one could argue they failed at that spectacularly over the past few years. But right now, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court says, whether or not they will take this case. Many suspect they will.
American Family News is online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
The world around us is constantly challenging the way we think. That's why we need a constant source of information that's based on the unchanging Word of God. I'm Jeff Chambly, and I invite you to join me for The Stand Radio, a weekly program that highlights the latest trends in culture, faith, and family. You'll hear insightful interviews with a biblical worldview application. The Stand Radio, Saturdays at 4 p.m. and Sundays at 8 p.m. Central on American Family Radio.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the program Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. I'm Tim Wildmon with Ed Battagliano and Ray Pritchard, and now Steve Paisley-Jordahl joins us, donning the Paisley shirt, thus his reputation.
I gotta keep up the reputation. Yep, I'm wearing the Paisley today.
You wear Paisley 2 out of 5 days, I would say.
I've got like 3 or 4 Paisley shirts that I kind of rotate in and out, plus some other ones.
Yeah. Do they have Paisley short sleeve shirts? Is there such a thing?
Sure, I think they do.
You got any in your closet?
Me? No.
Yeah, you got any Paisley shirts at all?
I have no Paisley shirts. I'm behind Steve.
I will send you some there, Ray.
You are the trendsetter, buddy.
Well, I would say to Steve, the 70s called and they want their shirts back.
Can't have them.
I don't even like the singer Brad Paisley. I mean, let alone shirts.
Like Brad Paisley?
It's the only guy with the last name Paisley I do. So I just use it as a joke.
On Steve.
Punchline.
Hey, that's fine. As long as you
somebody's
pay
got
me.
to keep. Jesse Jackson said, "Keep hope alive," and
that's all we're doing.
Says,
folks.
"Keep Paisley alive."
There you go.
All right. Well, again, thanks for listening to the program. Ed, if folks want to listen or watch on the internet, what can they do?
Well, if you want to watch the live video stream of this program, you have 3 options. You can go to Facebook, or you can go to YouTube and search for Today's Issues. On YouTube, you do have to search for Today's Issues Live, or you can go to...
Is that what you have to type in on YouTube?
I think
Today's
so.
Issues Live?
I think so. Brent Creeley, our producer, is nodding. So, not nodding off like he usually does, but just nodding.
Don't bite that. That's
Ooh-wee.
Or you can go to our own streaming platform, Paisley
I can't hear you, Ed.
Streaming.
Your mic is off.
Streaming at afa.net. Streaming at afa.net.
All right. Well, January 4th. Hope you're keeping your New Year's resolutions.
I've kept mine this far.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, joining us right now is Jenna Ellis, who's Jenna's on mornings, 7 to 8 o'clock Central Time on the American Family Radio Network with the radio program Jenna Ellis in the Morning. And Jenna, good morning to you.
Good morning and Happy New Year.
I guess Eastern Time Zone's your location, so good afternoon and Happy New Year. So you've been on the air with us a year now, right?
Yes, yep, a year and a day, actually, according to the math of Adam and Devin, our great producers, which I trust more than my math, so we'll go with that.
The math of Evan, what'd you say?
The math of Devin and Adam, my producers.
They work
like
for
an
you,
Agatha Christie novel. The math of Devin.
The math of Devin and
I guess
Adam.
You changed, huh? Okay, so anyway, so Jenna's been on with us now for a year. I'm just curious. You never did live radio before we got together, right?
Just as a guest, not as a host.
Right.
But, so I did a lot of radio, of course, as a guest. But
Right.
But yeah, I love the radio format. And to me, it's actually a lot better than television because you actually have to have something to say. Unlike television, that's a lot more about the visuals, and a lot of people keep it on in the background. It's a much more intimate conversation, and you can really drill down with different topics and so forth. So I've truly loved it.
Yeah. All right. So we invited you on. We were talking about New Year's resolutions. What's yours?
Well, I actually tweeted this, and my New Year's resolution, which I know for a lot of people, our New Year's resolutions last maybe a day, maybe just, the month of the free gym membership and all of that. So my New Year's resolution, though, is a little more serious, and it actually comes from Jeremiah 29:7. And it's to pray more for the welfare of our nation, regardless of anything that happens in 2024, the outcome of elections or global events. We're still looking at the conflict over in Israel and Hamas. And Jeremiah 29:7 says, "But seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare." And this command from God was to his people as they were being taken captive by Babylon and sent into exile. And Christians feel a lot like strangers and exiles in our own country. And so we can learn from this to consistently and continually pray to the Lord on behalf of our leaders, even when they're evildoers or not our choice. And what we really need to coalesce around as Christians this year is not a politician or policy as savior, but the truth of God and his salvation. This world is not our home, but while we are here, we must pray for and seek the welfare of our nation.
Ed, that'll preach, won't it?
That will preach. Jenna, let me ask you this. You are a Christian woman. You're also politically conservative. How do you separate out the things that matter as a Christian from the things that you might believe are more wise politically, but don't rise to the level of being biblical? In other words, biblical things, it's often put this way, there are certain issues that drive fellowship and certain things that break Christians apart from one another. How do you personally kind of separate politics from your Christian convictions that you can't compromise on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first and foremost, we have to be Christians, and that means that we believe in the inerrant, sufficient Word of God for the commands of God and also the counsel of God. So there is a difference between what we are commanded to do as Christians, like, for example, to meet as the church. We're commanded to be part of a church. That is something that we don't have an option on. That is what God commands. And to live rightly, to teach the truth of salvation, those things that the Bible commands, and also the prohibitions in Scripture that we cannot participate in as Christians. Then there is wisdom that God gives, and those are the things that should outflow from the truth of God, and as we apply the biblical worldview to, for example, politics and policy. And so we can debate those things. We can debate what's a good policy that is best pro-life, for example, who is the best candidate in the next presidential election, for example. Those are all debatable issues, but my political views should be formed from and informed by my faith. And so there is a difference between commands and prohibition versus wisdom, and we should be constantly seeking daily in prayer for wisdom for ourselves and also especially for our leaders.
I got a question for you, Jenna. How do you guard against when you pray for the welfare of the nation and you consistently see things that are going against the welfare of the nation? And maybe it's going to be the primaries, your candidate doesn't win, or the election, a Democrat gets elected, or all of the rest of the news we see of the country going the wrong direction, yet we're fervently praying for the health of the nation. Is God ignoring us, or how do you read all of that?
Well, that's where we go back to the Bible, and God answers prayer. He is not silent; He is there, and we also know that God in His sovereignty, is ordaining and establishing this world and world events, but we also have free will, and every person who has a free will to ignore the counsel of God may suffer the consequences of that. And so we are, as Christians in America, we live under two different federal headships, if I can put it that way. We are in, as Christians, we're no longer in Adam. We're not in sin. We still have the fallen nature, but we are regenerated as Christians. God and Christ Jesus are our eternal federal headship. We are no longer in Adam. But on this earth, obviously, our federal headship in terms of nations and sovereignty is the United States. And when our leaders bring us to war, when they have bad policies, we may suffer the consequences of what our federal sovereign does in terms of nations. And that's why we are called to pray. And so God will consistently answer prayer, but he also, if we ignore his wisdom and counsel and our leaders ignore that, we also may suffer consequences for it.
So, Jenna, just to follow up on that, I mean, I have a problem. We have a problem. We look at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. As conservatives, most of us conclude America would be better served if somebody else was in the White House starting in 2025. But we're commanded. We know to honor the king. We're to pray for our leaders. I mean, it's right there in Jeremiah 29:7. Jenna, how do we pray for leaders with whom we find ourselves in fundamental disagreement?
Yeah, that is a great question as well. First, I think we need to pray for their salvation because we can't expect people who are not in the federal headship in terms of salvation and the biblical orientation of Christ to act like Christians. And they can maybe have some temporal wisdom that's under the doctrine of common grace. People can still choose some good things, but ultimately their whole orientation and worldview is not based and centered on the truth of God. So we need to pray for their salvation. We also need to pray for mercy for ourselves, that God would restrain evildoers in leadership. And I would personally put Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and that administration in that category. They are evildoers. They are allowing the entirety of the LGBT agenda to run rampant. They are advocating for evil policies that hurt not only freedom and liberty, but have specific harm for society and for individuals, for parental rights, for children, all of those things. And we can pray that God in his sovereignty would restrain that evil as long as his people are persistently praying. And that's also why we need to be engaged as good citizens here in America. This is the time and the place in the nation that God has called us to. You and I and everyone listening here in America, we are called to this time and place, and we cannot just separate and say, the culture is too far. We're just going to stay within the four walls of our churches. We need to be actively engaged as much as possible in perfecting and creating a more perfect union, because we actually have the ability in the United States to actively engage in our government where a lot of other countries right now don't.
And nothing says you can't do imprecatory prayers, is there?
Pardon?
Right.
Nothing says you can't do imprecatory prayers if you're praying for the president.
Probably need to explain what that means.
God, rain down your terror and your justice on these people.
Okay, what was the word you used, Steve?
Imprecatory. It's the imprecatory psalms are the psalms where
smite them,
exactly.
hip and thigh,
commence the smiting.
Okay, so blow them to pieces.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still
Be
praying.
like King David. You know,
Yes,
he
it's in
prayed
the
that
Bible.
a lot.
I'm still praying for my president.
Okay, Steve, I can tell you what.
That doesn't count, does it?
As the president of this ministry, I will give you half a day off if you can spell that word without looking it up.
Oh, my goodness.
IMPRE CITORY.
Wrong.
Oh, so close.
So close.
So close.
What was that?
CA.
CA.
It's an A instead of an I.
Gator, yeah. Sorry.
I gave you
So
a chance.
Hey,
I should have written it down.
Jenna and I spelled it right. Where's our half day?
Yeah, but
That's right.
Jenna's a lawyer. You almost went to law school.
Wow, the law is being held against me.
Yes.
What injustice!
I was very
on this
specific. I said
network.
Steve. But I noticed how quick y'all were to pounce on him when he misspelled it.
That's
You're
right.
Wrong. You're wrong.
We were rooting for him though. I was like, he's gonna get it.
I know.
Yeah.
I should have written it down. I didn't. It looks wrong with an I. I would have known that if I just bothered to write it down. But.
Again,
is
the word
harder-
is what now? The word is what?
Imprecatory.
It is harder to
Okay.
spell things out loud than write it down because you have to see it in your mind instead of on the paper.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I wonder if
yeah.
that's ever
so
caused
Steve
a Wheel
deserves
of
like
Fortune
a fourth
contestant to fail.
of a day off for that, right? Like at least an hour, maybe.
Yeah, give me a
Like,
lunch. Give me a
Yeah,
lunch
give,
time.
give him a
Yeah.
lunch break
Give
for
him
that.
lunch.
Yeah.
That's right. You can take lunch starting at 12.
I'm going to have my lawyer contact you, Tim. Make sure I get my lunch hour. Jenna, I'll call you later.
Jenna, so you can name your next dog that, Jenna.
Yeah, imprecatory.
You still have those
Yeah.
two dogs that you brought here last time you were visiting
do.
us?
Absolutely, and they're getting
Todd and Copper.
so big. Yes, Todd and Copper, and they are actually had to use my mute button there in the beginning because they were barking at something. But
Oh, we heard 'em.
they're-
Yeah,
No,
we
you
heard
did. Okay, I wasn't
Yeah, we
quite
heard
quick
'em.
enough, but no, they're doing great, and flew back from Colorado with me after
What
the
kind of
holidays.
dogs are they again?
They are little mini golden doodles, and you can follow them on Instagram, 2dudes_Copper and Todd.
I'm just
give
gonna.
that-
I'm just
give
gonna
that-
tell you. This is gonna sound bad, but I just don't think a man can have a dog that's called a. Would you call it? What kind of dog is it?
A doodle, a
A
golden
doo-
doodle. See now
Golden
they're
doodle.
they're barking at you.
They
I'm
don't
gonna
like
let
what
them-
you just said.
You just
They-
can't.
yeah.
Guys just can't have.
I'm sorry.
course you can.
I have one.
Do you?
Yes.
Well,
But
then
you
I've
were
got
Paisley.
one. Then
You
we
were
were-
Paisley,
I've
Steve.
got
So
one.
it
You-
doesn't.
Ray's
like,
got
that
one.
doesn't
Ray,
count.
you've got one.
Steve's got one.
Awesome.
Stepped in it, Ed.
Right.
You
This is-
stepped in it.
I'm telling you, this is what's wrong with this country. I'm just.
Too many doodles.
But
they are
doodles
cute
are
dogs.
the best,
I will say
though.
they are cute dogs.
Because you have golden doodles, you have Bernie doodles, you have cavapoos, you have
Bernie
all
Doodles,
kinds
isn't
of.
that guy who went to prison for stealing money? Bernie Doodle.
Bernie Doodle.
Oh,
Well,
man.
thankfully, as a woman who knows what a woman is, I don't have to worry about that, and I can just be fully
Right.
open and secure
Immersed.
in my golden doodles.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
All right.
golden
Golden
doodles.
I was one of my favorite cereals growing up. Man, just a bowl of golden doodles. I'm sorry, I'm getting
All right.
way off target
Well, yeah, you are because this is a serious show, Ed, and when you do that kind of thing,
here. That's right.
I have a reputation. to
Yes, you
uphold
do.
here. Okay. All right, Jenna, thanks so much. And again, what's your Bible verse with your New Year's resolution?
Yeah, it's Jeremiah 29:7. But seek the welfare of the city where I've sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf. For in its welfare, you will find your welfare. So a great example.
Amen.
From the Old Testament. Well, Happy
All
New
right.
Year's to everyone.
Happy New
Yes.
Year. All right,
Happy New
take
Year
care.
to you.
Take care of Todd and if you
Copper.
want to. Todd and
Yeah.
Copper. So Todd and Copper have their own Instagram.
They do, and I actually update that now more than my own because it's way more fun to have golden doodles than politics. So it's 2 dudes, and it's it's not the dude like what Ed thinks of. It's the dude like the golden doodle.
D-O-O-D?
So it's DOOD. So Ed could have 2 dudes like DUDES.
That's a
That should be his
completely
Instagram,
different
right?
Instagram.
Yes.
Completely different.
So this is 2dudes_Copper and Todd.
Okay. Well, give Copper and Todd a belly rub down for us, and tell them
They
Ed's
love
sorry to offend them.
They look totally dejected right now. Ed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sad. You're gonna have
send
to
a picture and
call
send
him
it
and
to Ed
apologize.
so you can think about.
Yeah, send a picture of
Maybe
me.
he can think
Yeah,
about
that-
the hurtful words
that'll
that
cheer
he
him up.
speaks them.
Yeah. Put him in the doghouse. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like that pun. Okay, doodle on, Jenna. We'll see you.
Have a great day.
See you
Bye,
next
guys.
time. Bye-bye.
All right,
Yep.
Steve, bring us back from that.
Well, I've got a quiz for y'all.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Yes.
Steve, you do have this
I
same
do
dog
have-
that Jenna has?
I do have a golden doodle, yes.
And Ray's got one, he said. Ray's
But
got-
not a golden doodle, an Aussie doodle. You know, the doodles come in a lot of varieties. She named a couple, and
So this is why a doodle is a poodle that's crossed
Right.
with something. So a
With
golden
something.
doodle is a golden retriever and a poodle. And a lot of people want to cross breeds with poodles because poodles have hair that doesn't shed. They don't shed at all.
Oh,
they have
wow.
hair, not fur. So if you're hypoallergenic or you just don't want to be cleaning up, dog hair off of your clothes all the time, get a doodle.
Get a doodle.
And you get the best
great
personality of the golden and the shedding ability of a poodle.
I like golden retrievers and Labradors. So an Aussie Doodle is with combined with what?
Is an Australian Shepherd, basically a sheep herding dog with a poodle, and brilliant.
Is it hyper?
Yeah, extremely. Probably more dog than we can handle. But we've had her for 4 years now. She's not going anywhere. She sleeps on the bed with us. Yeah. Great dog.
How many pounds?
She weighs about 35, but she's got a bark at night. If anybody comes within 100 yards of our house at night, it's, she's got the bark of a dog that weighs 150 pounds. She can raise the dead when she's out.
That's probably good for you guys. With somebody hears that dog.
It's a layer of safety.
Yeah.
Well, I have a 11-pound Maltese.
Yeah.
Who
that bark's not going to fool anyone, is it?
No. When we're on our patio, we stay on our patio house, and I do it at night a lot, most of the year. We rarely use our den. We go on our patio. We have a big screen TV out there, and behind our yard is the woods, a forest, trees, and all kind of things. So our Maltese, I don't know, dogs can see things at night that humans can't, right? And so that's the only character fault I have with my dog and his character is he will be a lap dog, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the patio with me on my chair. Just we'll be watching a ball game or talking to Allison or whatever, answering email, and everything's calm and quiet. And then he will see something out in the woods and leap off my chair and about 3 feet, you wouldn't believe it, and start barking his ever-living head off. And it's, if you've ever had, we've all experienced peace and quiet broken by sheer terror, haven't we?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
By a kid falls down, hits his head or whatever,
right.
but you don't know when it's coming. That's the thing about it.
It's like a jack-in-the-box.
He's seeing squirrels or coyotes or I don't know what all's out there.
Now he doesn't run towards the woods.
Yeah, no, yes, he runs toward it. But we have thankfully we have a fence.
Oh yeah, that's good.
We have fencing. I don't know how to describe metal fencing that keeps him from going out and losing his life.
Yeah,
but he
only thinks he wants to go out there.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's right.
In his mind, he's defending the home.
Right,
that's right.
Said squirrels or raccoons or whatever he's seeing.
Whatever's out there, yeah.
Whatever's out there in the dark, he's defending the home. His 11-pound self is defending the home against. But it's kind of one of those things that we're protecting him from himself.
Yes,
right.
Kind of like a kid, right?
Yeah. Hey, Steve, yes. I think we still got time for this largest. I know Ray enjoys cruises, so I want you to tell me about this new ship we got going on here.
So the Caribbean Cruise Lines has introduced, or they are putting to sail this year, the largest cruise ship ever. They're
going to sell it already?
They are. It's in Puerto Rico right now on its shaking out voyage. No actual customers, but
you mean SAIL?
Well, there's no sails. There's motors, but you SAIL on a cruise. You sail on a cruise.
We're
right?
ships in the night, right there, Steve.
That's sure. Okay. Anyway, it's almost 1,200. It's almost 1,200 feet long. It's about like 6 times longer than the Titanic. It has 6 water slides, 7 pools, 20 decks, room for 7,900 passengers or people, passengers and crew. And I think I read somewhere it has like 18,473 places to eat.
How many?
Well, speaking
what's the name of the ship?
What's
Icon of the Seas.
Okay, Ray, you've been on several cruises, right?
Yes, a number. Yeah, and I'm thinking we should do a Bible reading. We should do a Bible reading cruise, Go out by one of those pools, have some Bible reading, go to the evening buffet, have some Bible reading, have a little ministry cruise.
The general public's out there by the pool, don't you, Ray?
Yes, I do. That's why I read the Bible out there. You know,
we read the Bible out there to all those drunks.
That's right. I love it.
And it's 1,200
I'm
feet?
serious.
That's all? That seems like that's small, 1,200 feet.
No, it's big.
It's long.
What is that? That's 4 football fields, right?
You got to see the
That's
picture
so
of this
many
thing.
people.
How many cruises you been on, Ray?
Oh, 6 or 7, something like that.
Wow.
Love it.
You know, I've
And my
never
wife-
been on a cruise.
You need to go.
Oh, you need to go.
Fantastic.
Oh,
you know,
you need
I'm
to
just
go.
thinking about the germs. Being in so close with all those people.
The germs are everywhere.
There's always a joy killer out there. Ed's
Joy Killer. Yeah, that was my.
Ed the germaphobe.
Well, maybe I'll
All
go
right,
on this one.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us today on the program. Trivia Friday tomorrow. We'll see you back here then. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Tim Wildmon, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hope you're going to have a prosperous and healthy 2024. Hey, we're going to Washington, D.C.